Ladies and gentlemen, I think that everyone should be well aware by now of the importance of the month of October. This is October 2025, right? This is the end of the 4-year cycle. Either we top out in this month or maybe into early November, or we break the cycle, right? If Bitcoin's still running in December, it's still running in January, that's a break of the 4-year cycle. That's an erosion, or at least a significant deviation from the cyclical trends which underpin all of Bitcoin's price action. And that will be a no man's land that we've never seen before. So this is a big, big month. And when it comes to the 4-year cycle, we can only really validate tops via dates. We can't validate tops by price. And that means that given the fact it's a date range trend, there is a date range estimate of where the top might be. We don't know exactly when the top will be. We just know it might be around now if the cycle holds. And so that basically puts us in a sketchy position in which any local top on Bitcoin could potentially be a cyclical top. It also could just be a regular correction, but we don't actually know until we get the breakdown validation. So really the name of the game now at this part of the cycle is breakdown validation. And the big question is, well, first and foremost, are these short-term corrections healthy on Bitcoin and on Ethereum? And second of all, where can Bitcoin go down to, right? Where's the lowest point Bitcoin can go down to before it starts to do some serious macro damage and before it starts to look like an actual top? I'll also, again, throw in Ethereum here because I think Ethereum is, personally, it's the thing that I'm most interested in right now. Bitcoin is good for macro security and understanding the macro situation well, but Ethereum has been outperforming Bitcoin since April. It's been 4xing Bitcoin's performance since April. And so it's actually the coin that I'm most interested in from an investment standpoint, but from a market sentiment and market, status standpoint, yeah, it's still Bitcoin. So we'll look into both. Shouldn't take too long at all today. It's not a very complicated video. Before we get into it, let's check out the Bitunix Exchange. It's a global non-KYC exchange. It's never been hacked before. Again, I want to really emphasize that. It's a global exchange. There's no restrictions on where you can sign up. And on top of that, it's never had a security breach, and it's been on the market for close to 5 years. Both of those things alone put this exchange in the top 1 percentile. Very rare to find an exchange like that these days. It's even rarer to find an exchange like that with everything you would expect from a major exchange. Use my link down below to sign up to get a 15% lifetime trading fee discount. Again, that link is down below for a 15% discount on fees. I appreciate that. It's the best way to help the channel for sure. And it's a good way to help yourself as well. Let's get into the content. So just briefly brushing over where this resistance is actually coming from now. We know that Bitcoin is at resistance. We know that Bitcoin has resistance from these yellow lines, specifically this one singular yellow line, which goes right back to 2017, cuts across the 2021 all-time high, cuts across earlier this year on 3 separate occasions, and actually is the rejection point right now. So very, very important line with 5 retests that goes back 8 years. Obviously, that line needs to break for a continuation high to occur, and that puts us in a pretty dodgy position here in which that could be, it very well could be the macro top. We don't know yet because we don't have the breakdown validation, and the cycle doesn't actually give us clarity. So I'm still bullish, I'm still macro bullish, but I'm recognizing the fact that that is a danger, and that is not only just one singular line. That line is bolstered by things like this chart here. I'm not going to spend too long discussing it. We've discussed it before. It's basically a logarithmic regression channel. The angle of ascension halves each cycle between highs and lows and lows. And the angle of ascension puts resistance currently at about 128 to 130,000. And then the one more thing we'll look at is the power law chart here. Power law chart, very important chart on Bitcoin, historically speaking. You can just look at the price retests to see that. And this green line here has been resistance for 18 months, and it's currently sitting at 131,000. So we have incremental resistance on Bitcoin. I'm going to delete these charts now. We've discussed them so many times, but incremental resistance on Bitcoin starting at about 126 to 127 and laddering up all the way to 131,000. That exact region and those exact charts are charts that I've been looking at on this YouTube channel since August 2024, okay? They're not new to us at all. And we said they'd be a big issue, and now they are posing an actual threat. So now that we're seeing a short-term correction from those levels, the question is, well, okay, at what point do we say that this correction is not just a correction, but actually the start of a bear market? We're not there yet, right? We're still in a solid position right now. We have a triangle formation that seems to be forming here on the price chart, on the hourly chart. You can see the triangle and solid white lines here. You can see also a dashed line. It could be a wedge. We're actually unsure whether it's a triangle or a wedge. Similar amount of retest, similar amount of structural validation. And we also could be seeing a complete erosion of this top line here if we just deviate slightly, because we already did that before, right? We had this line. It deviated from, now we have this one. They're both kind of skeptical lines. The point is we have some sort of structure that's currently not really easily identifiable that is forming right here. And that structure is not broken down yet. So we're not actually in an active short-term breakdown at this point. We are in a short-term consolidation. And looking at the POC on the volume profile and actually just the gap on the volume profile at around that $120,000 region, it's really no surprise that Bitcoin did pull back to that region. That was a very logical place to pull back to, quite frankly. For short-term security, it is very important that that $120,000 region holds. But again, even that's not the game breaker, right? The deal breaker on Bitcoin, if we're being really honest, is starting. One of the important levels on Bitcoin is this second yellow line, right? This lower yellow line, which has just been so important on Bitcoin. Just look at the screen here and you'll see it retest, support retest. The most recent 2 rejections we saw were from this yellow line. That's a very important level that will actually start to change the game if it's broken. And the decisive level, in my view, is the bull market support band. The rejections from that yellow level, which is of importance, both led to retests of the bull market support band, and both times that bull market support band held. So really, Bitcoin does have some level of macro security until currently about $111,000, moving upwards slightly as time goes on. But I mean, in terms of medium-term security, we're actually looking at this yellow level right here, which is currently sitting at 118. So don't have too much breathing room. But again, not in immediate macro danger here on Bitcoin. And extending that analysis to Ethereum, we get kind of a similar conclusion, right? So Ethereum macro support down here at 3,900, very clear macro support that's held for a long period of time. And of course, just chopping around in the short-term price action, we've got the important short-term levels that have just been lost here. 4,400 was the level that I've been talking about for a couple of days here on Ethereum in the YouTube channel. We've lost that level. Unfortunately, downside price action could be expected here to 4,200, which is the neckline of our prior resistance, which was actually an inverted head and shoulders pattern. But overall, the problem with Ethereum right now, I mean, Ethereum is, as I said, my investment interest at this point, because it's clearly still dominating the market, or at least it looks like it has been since April. The problem with Ethereum is that Ethereum is, relatively subject to the conditions that Bitcoin provides for it. And unfortunately, given the fact that the macro structure of Bitcoin could be intact until all the way down to 111,000, a drop on Bitcoin to 111, if that occurs, could lead to a very significant drop on Ethereum. Could be very damaging on the Ethereum portfolio before you actually realize the bull market is over. I suppose that's a risk you have to run. Again, you're very welcome, and people are welcome to do what they want. Of course, de-risking now and buying back when security has been clearly given in the market. So de-risking now and waiting for an actual proper breakout on Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then only then buying back. That's something you can do. But it's just it's very important to be aware of the risk here for Ethereum specifically, because of course we're not guaranteed an altcoin season, and we're not even guaranteed all-time highs on Ethereum. This cycle has been very strange from an altcoin and Ethereum perspective. Now, if Bitcoin does continue higher, I do expect the Ethereum season to continue, and I do expect actually some sort of altcoin season. That hasn't happened yet, though. And I do think it's important to note, a lot of people seem to have this idea that, if Bitcoin tops out, Ethereum will keep running. Well, that's not guaranteed, because that's only happened in times of hype, historically speaking, when Ethereum has already been running when Bitcoin has topped out. Currently, Ethereum is relatively stagnant. So if Bitcoin has topped out right here, there's no guarantee at all that Ethereum will keep running. Whereas if Bitcoin keeps going higher, that's when Ethereum continuing to run after Bitcoin starts to become a real possibility. So a very dodgy market environment right now. Not much predictive clarity, because we're at really what the cycle has been talking about all along is this month. And really we could be seeing the top at any time this month. It could be right here. It could be after another big move, right? Or we could just not top at all and we can break the cycle entirely. There's so many big questions that are literally impossible to answer right now. But if we're trusting the cycle and we're combining that trust with a perspective on the macro, what we know is this, right? In order for a cyclical top to be validated, you need to see a macro breakdown. We have not seen a macro breakdown yet. And even the short-term correction that we have seen seems to be healthy, at least for now, on both Bitcoin and on Ethereum. Now, the risk is if Bitcoin does go down a lot, Ethereum could go down very significantly, and you could be down quite a bit on your bags before you actually realize the bull market has ended. But that's actually really just an unavoidable risk. Unless you want to de-risk now and buy back when it's secure, that's an unavoidable risk in my view. And de-risking is certainly a valid option. It just comes with its own risk management, risk-reward ratio that you need to measure up to your personal risk tolerance. To my opinion right now, if I'm looking from a macro scale, I see no reason to believe that the bull market is over at this point, because we haven't seen the macro validation, and I've been relying on macro for so long, and it's gotten me very, very far. I've never once flipped macro bearish since November 2022, because we've never seen macro bearishness. So in my view, it's pretty simple. Trust the macro, de-risk if you're really uncomfortable taking short-term risk here, and simply buy back if the markets look good again. But overall, if anyone's going to come out right now and say we're in a bear market for sure, I would highly dispute that. I don't see the evidence for that at this point. We are in an extremely high-risk position, rejecting on a short-term level from very, very important resistance zones that I've discussed for 14 or 15 months in this YouTube channel. But the actual validation for a bear market is yet to come. And therefore, we are macro bullish for now, ready to adapt when the time comes. Guys, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Again, go ahead and check out the Bitunix Exchange. It's a global exchange. You'll have no issues signing up no matter where you are in the world. You have no issues with using a VPN or anything like that. You don't need to. You can if you want to, but it's not necessary. There's no restrictions here. On top of that, it's never been hacked before. Not a single security breach in its entire track record, which goes back to 2021. It's been around for two bear markets, two bull markets and a bear market. Zero security breaches. That's exceptionally good, guys. Use my link down below for a 15% exclusive trading fee discount on every single buy and every single sell that you make on the exchange forever. Lifetime discount there with my link. So help out the channel and help out yourself by using that link if you're interested. I'll catch you guys tomorrow.